In the 3 years I've been watching anime, I've slowly been getting around to watching some of the greats. Yu Yu Hakusho, JoJo, Bakano. I've seen my fair share of fantastic shows, but now and then I come across one that leaves a profound effect on me. Legend of the Galactic Heroes is one such show. Throughout its 110 episode runtime, one thing that continuously amazed me was how it paced itself in such a way to offer a captivating experience throughout, with the story staying wildly unpredictable until the very last moment. A lot of the show's excitement comes from the sense of scale it offers. Reinhardt's end goal is complete unification of the universe, and of course, this is a gargantuan task. When we're dealing with warfare on this scale, it sets the tone for a long and arduous journey right at the beginning. It can often be hard to convey something like this effectively, so after each battle, a death toll is displayed, and seeing that millions have died really hits home the gravity of the situation. On top of this, the fights manage to be so hectic at times as we see dozens of different flagships that it builds up the battlefields to be filled to the brim with Alliance and Empire fleets. The battles work on many levels as they further the relationship between the two main characters and demonstrate the advantages and disadvantages of their respective political views. Young Wenli is a staunch believer of democracy, and on the other hand, Reinhardt forms an autocracy, believing that he's the one that has what it takes to unite the entire universe. As someone who lives in a democratic society, as I'm sure many of you do, the idea of an autocracy being something viable seems pretty insane, but through these fights we get left with real food for thought. One of my favourite fights halfway into the series, the Battle of Vermilion, has Reinhardt cornered, outsmarted by the better young Wenli. Before this entire bloody war can end, his superiors tell him to step down to save their own skin. When the leaders of a democracy act in their own interest, how is that honestly any better than an autocracy? The only real difference in this situation is that Reinhardt is upfront about his power. An autocracy relies on one person, but a democracy will survive despite the fate of its current leader, who in this case did a poor job. That brings up a consistent thought heard throughout the series: what will happen when Reinhardt dies? The show makes sure to point out that the blonde-haired ruler is an exceptionally talented man, the likes of which may never be seen again. How can we be sure that 100 years from now his empire would be as successful? There is never a clear bias for one side or the other, and the viewer will be heavily invested in seeing their respective stories play out. Young Wenli is a good leader and wins lots of fights, but is ultimately held back by his democratic allegiance, so as the series continues we find that Reinhardt is slowly but surely taking control of the entire universe. However, the show has a great balancing act as it never has a clear victor apparent. Sure, I said that Young is the better tactician, but by the last third of the show he is heavily outnumbered, which more than makes up for Reinhardt's misgivings. Even now though, the show still manages to put the two on equal footing with the genius way Iserlohn is used, with its corridors countering Reinhardt's favourite strategy of using a pincer attack. The show is one that really requires you to pay attention to all of its intricacies with learning how to distinguish commanders by strategy, and when the viewer manages to understand the psyche of these characters in battle, it's immensely satisfying. With 30 episodes left at this point, there is still no clear way of how this never-ending struggle will conclude, and it fascinates me. With a lot of shows, you have a good idea of what the end result is going to be. With this, however, each side is as potent as the other, and the battles and outcomes always make sense, with the viewer's intelligence never being insulted with some kind of ass pool coming out of nowhere. When I say that the show is unpredictable, I mean it. 80 episodes in, the battle for Iserlohn was fully underway. I felt kind of bad for Reinhardt as he had lost basically every fight against his democratic counterpart, and I fully expected Young to pull out some kind of victory which would then inspire more to join his cause and fracture the empire. However, the absolute unthinkable happened. Young Wenli died. When his ship got boarded, I didn't worry about it. When the crew members all died, I didn't worry about it. When he got shot in the leg, I still didn't worry about it. But there it was. 80 episodes in, one of the two main characters had died. I think it speaks wonders for this show that one of the most important characters dies and it manages to continue as strong as ever due to the absolutely fantastic supporting cast. The ever unpredictable Oberstein, the skepticism of Royenthal, Mariendorf with their constant worry for the Kaiser. The characters do a great job of bouncing off one another, and there are some great subplots to get invested in during the less action-packed moments of the show. And of course, seeing Julian and Frederica try and take control during this time strengthens their characters and really embodies the spirit of democracy as the Alliance leaders change. One of the biggest things to come out of Young's death is that his relationship with Reinhardt ends, who is a fascinating character. Reinhardt had never been the same after his best friend died, whose calm attitude towards battles contrasted perfectly with Reinhardt's more aggressive approach. Together they were unstoppable, and Reinhardt consistently went to his friend for advice, with the two of them being alone for the most part in their struggle to take down the Goldenbaum Dynasty. When Kircheis dies, again being completely unexpected, Reinhardt's tactical wizardry suffers as he loses a tactician and his best and only friend. After this, he takes more interest in Young as he finds something to move towards after losing a big chunk of his motivation in unifying the universe. It's fascinating to see how devastated he is in Yang's death despite being on two different sides, and it does wonders for showcasing how conflicted a person he is, constantly burdened by his mistakes. This journey we go on is as much about personal growth as it is overall desires. The greatest thing I can say about this show is as follows. Even 10 episodes in, I felt like I had been on an incredible journey with the cast, with each episode being densely packed with exposition but never overbearing, hitting a perfect balance I didn't even know was possible. Each character is standout with their own goals, motivations, and it's incredible to see a show this well written. Right until the very end, this show is exciting, unpredictable, and is truly one of a kind.